So, I'll be honest, I'm not that into spending like a lot of money on overpriced food and drinks. But slap an anime character on top of that, now you're talking. Hell yeah, totally worth. During my time in Japan, I got to visit 4 different anime-themed character cafes, and I'm gonna share with you my honest thoughts and personal ratings of them. So y'all may have seen videos of the famous Pokemon Cafe with, the dancing Pikachu TikToks. Well, this is not the Pokemon Cafe, this is the Pikachu Sweets Cafe. We tried to get a reservation at the Pokemon Cafe, but failed miserably. So, if you ever end up in a similar position, the Pikachu Sweets Cafe has got your back. This one is actually a takeout cafe, which means that it doesn't have any reservations and it also doesn't have any seating. There are also some benches that you can sit at nearby, so it's not that bad. The decorations in the space are really cute. Even though I'm sure it's not quite the same experience as, going to the actual Pokemon Cafe, it was still pretty fun for me. I ordered 3 different items from the Pikachu Sweets Cafe. The first was the Pikachu waffle, which was actually covered in chocolate on the front. But I gotta say, even chocolate was not enough to save this one because, the texture was pretty bad. Like, this was worse than a frozen waffle kind of deal. We also got the Alchemy ice cream, which was a vanilla ice cream with some frozen raspberries on top, and it looked just like Alchemy, which was very, very cute. Although, once I started eating it, I realized that the inside of the ice cream was actually hollow. So, not the best deal perhaps, but hey, it did look very cute. The Pikachu iced coffee was honestly just a pretty standard iced coffee, but the packaging was very cute and the little printed Pikachu was cute as well. My favorite thing though about the entire cafe was this Garbodor trash can. Look at how hilarious this is. So here are my overall thoughts. For the atmosphere, I would give this a 3 out of 5. It was pretty well decorated, but it lacked seating, so you gotta duck at some points. For the presentation, I would actually give it a 4 out of 5. I think they incorporated the Pokemon designs pretty well, but at the same time, I wasn't like blown away per se. And the taste, I have to give this a 2 out of 5. Honestly, it was a little bit disappointing. Overall, I give it a 3 out of 5. I think it's a solid option if you can't get a reservation at the Pokemon Cafe, but I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to try it out. Alright, so the next cafe that we visited was the Pompurin Cafe. This place had an impeccable vibe. Like, everything was super cute, really well decorated, Pompurin themed everywhere. Even the freaking toilet sign was Pompurin themed. It was incredible. We were just here for like a little snack, right? So we mostly ordered dessert foods. We got a Pompurin waffle and we got 2 different drinks, the custard pudding latte and the little bittersweet cafe mocha. We actually ordered the half-size Pompurin waffle, which I think is a pretty good deal because it was already a pretty big size in my opinion, and it cost like, less money. This waffle tasted much better than the Pikachu Sweets one. I would say it was actually like a pretty solid waffle, and the ice cream was nice on top as well. The drinks were, once again, pretty classic drinks that you can kind of get anywhere. I would say that they were a little bit sweet and thick for my taste, so I actually wasn't able to finish them, but they were still pretty good. Oh, and one thing about this cafe is that every person who enters has to order a drink, so even if you order food, that doesn't count, which is kind of interesting. They also had a lot of merch available, so that was great. Overall, my thoughts on the Pompurin Cafe were the atmosphere definitely gets a 5 out of 5. This was by far the nicest decorated collab cafe that I went to. For the presentation of the food, I would give it a 5 out of 5 as well. I think everything was like very carefully designed and also super cute. And lastly, for the taste, I would give this a 4 out of 5. I mean, I only ordered the sweets and sweets are kind of hard to go wrong per se. It didn't blow my mind, so not a 5 out of 5, but pretty good, 4 out of 5, Overall, I would give this cafe a 5 out of 5. If you're in Harajuku, highly recommend stopping by. It is just so cute. Go check it out. The next cafe that we visited was the Oshi no Ko collaboration at Sweets Paradise. The Oshi no Ko collab in particular goes until 5/31, but I'm sure they will be hosting other popular collabs in the future. So overall, the cafe itself had a pretty cute vibe, and they had a bunch of standees with the various Oshi no Ko characters. We ordered 3 things here. We got the eye curry, the aqua Hamburg steak, and the ruby soda. For the aqua Hamburg steak, I was surprisingly shocked at how yummy it was. Like, it didn't look very appealing, but it actually tasted pretty good, and I guess that's what matters, right? The eye curry was actually a bit surprising because it was more like a Thai curry than a Japanese curry. And lastly, the ruby soda was probably the least worth thing on the menu. It honestly just tasted like some pretty standard sparkling pink lemonade, but it cost 600 yen. So one thing I will say though is Sweets Paradise is actually a dessert buffet, which means that, in addition to the food you order, there's like a huge self-serve dessert area where you can just take whatever you want. So for example, Kana had like these really nice looking pancakes, but I was like, I don't really know if I want to order extra dessert when we're already getting so much, buffet dessert. One thing I was a little bit sad about though is that when we went, they were out of almost all of the merch available. I really wanted to get some acrylic standees of like Ruby and Aqua, but they didn't have any. We were able to get this really cute tote bag though, so at least that made up for it a bit. So for the atmosphere, I'd give it a 4 out of 5. I think it was pretty well decorated and the vibes are pretty nice. I do think they could have done a little bit more Oshi no Ko-ness, but that's okay. For presentation, I would also give this a 4 out of 5. I do think each of the dishes looked pretty cute, but again, I think they could have tied the character designs into it a little bit more. And for the taste, I would also give this a 4 out of 5. Wow, go figure. I think it actually tasted pretty solid, and the dessert buffet was honestly pretty nice. And of course, that means that overall, I would also give it a 4 out of 5. If Sweets Paradise has any future collabs, I definitely think it's worth checking out because honestly, I had a pretty good time. And for the last cafe, we are once again going to be visiting one of our Sanrio friends, Cinnamaroll. I'm actually a huge fan of Cinnamaroll. It's probably my favorite Sanrio character. One thing though that was pretty disappointing is that the cafe didn't have any eggs at the time we went, which meant that we couldn't order the 2 dishes that were like the most advertised ones, the Cinnamaroll pancakes and the Cinnamaroll omelet. So I was honestly pretty disappointed by that. Instead, we got the blue Cinnamaroll curry and this strawberry mini parfait. The curry was surprisingly good. I did not expect this weird looking blue curry to taste good, but it really tasted pretty solid, like pretty standard Japanese curry, which is pretty yummy. The strawberry mini parfait was also pretty standard. I had a pretty solid time eating it. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with the food that we did end up ordering, even though we couldn't get what I originally wanted. I would say the atmosphere was actually a 4 out of 5. They did have quite a few cute decorations lying around, but it wasn't to the level of the Pompurin Cafe. The presentation was a 4 out of 5 for me. I thought the things we got were pretty well presented, but I really wish I could have seen what, the super cute items were that were out of stock. So I had to dock it a point for that. And for the taste, similarly, I would give it a 4 out of 5, but I'm docking it 1 to 3 out of 5, just because we weren't able to taste the ones that I wanted the most. Overall though, I would still give this cafe a 4 out of 5. I think if they had those items, it probably would have been like a high 4, but since they didn't, it's like a low 4. But if you like Cinnamaroll like me, I still think you'll have a good time. So are the cafes worth it? Well, let's be honest, you're not going to a character cafe because you're trying to get quality food at a good price. You're going because you love anime characters and you'll do anything to make them feel more real. And as I mentioned, I am a huge weeb. So for me, it was pretty worth it. I had a really good time. I would definitely go to more collab cafes in the future, and I recommend you to check them out too if you like anime and overpriced food. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, I have a lot of other videos planned for my Japan trip, so subscribe for more. Hope to see you next time. Bye!